Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to this channel. On this video, I'm going to talk all things cold calling. If you're a real estate investor, you will want to stay on this video the entire way through. This is a special video. The reason why is I actually took it from one of my coaching calls I did with my coaching group. I don't normally do this because those individuals pay thousands of dollars to be coached by me. However, this call was so good and so thorough, I wanted to give it to you guys. I get a ton of questions about cold calling, where to pull the scripts, what is the script, how to overcome objections, what lists to use, where to skip trace it. All of that is in this video. This video is pretty lengthy, so make sure you watch it all. If you're a real estate investor and if you are interested in cold calling, stay tuned. Alright guys, as I mentioned, this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy video. Make sure to turn all phones off, all things that will distract you if you are a real estate investor. Like I mentioned, this is an actual coaching call with me to my coaching group. So take notes because I'm quite literally going over my script. I'm literally going over how to overcome objections, how to find motivations, what lists to use, where to skip trace it. I go through it all. So keep watching this video, rewatch this video, get ready for an incredible training. I hope you enjoy.
Because it's outdated. I mean, it's pretty outdated. But he heard a lot of stories from friends and decided he doesn't want the headache of being a landlord. And so he's just willing to get out of it. Right now he has the extra cost, monthly cost of the mortgage. He doesn't want that. So so that's why he wants out of it. And that's so to answer your question, not super motivated, but it seems like there might be enough meat on the bone there to do some quick flooring and a slab of paint job on it and turn maybe 10,000 or something like that. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, let me do some quick math. You think it's worth 100, you think?
Yeah.
So 100K to sell, I'm going to make math easy, even though it's not perfect, times 10%. So it's going to be 10 grand to sell with realtor commissions, closing costs. So you're at 90 grand. What do you think the paint and the flooring would cost you?
About 6. It's just a carpet in a couple of rooms that needs, the rest of it's hardwood and not in bad condition.
Are you licensed?
No, I have a realtor up in that market though, who I ran the numbers past, and she thinks it can go for higher. I'm not convinced because of the comps. So,
well, but what she could realize that maybe, happens a lot is like, because there's actually nothing else to acquire, it'll go to 110. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
the thing is, I typically evaluate a little conservatively. There's 3 bedrooms all over the place up there, not 2 bedrooms. And the 3 bedrooms are going for like
there's probably an additional piece here.
They're also pretty they're pretty outdated as well. So I'm thinking, if I give it a little bit of a facelift, then it will be worth at least 100, but it's tough to say because there's no exact comps.
Yeah, so I don't love how thin the margins are for you to actually acquire it. And so to your point, making it some level of a subject to or seller financing. Have you just even asked, are you open to some creative financing options to get you your number?
No, like that's the call we had scheduled this afternoon, and I wanted to run it by you before we had that conversation to see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, so I like the idea for that better. Now, would you still, put some paint into it, fix it up, and try to resell it?
Yeah, that's my entire thought, because I don't think there's enough meat on the bone for a wholesale. The only person that might think about it would be a buy to hold,
Aren't there a decent amount of them in the area?
In Toledo, yes. I'm not in Toledo market. I'm in Columbus, and that's basically where I've done all my business. So this is kind of out of market for me. So I just don't have those relationships. I know that you said,
do.
you know, you do. Okay.
I do. So so there's going to be two answers to what I'm going to tell you right now. So you might want to just take notes so we can reference them back. And you have my phone number, right? Or you can Voxer me?
No, I got Voxer. I've tried to send you a couple, but they haven't. Looks like they haven't been read. So I think it's you. I'm pretty sure. Justin at TSOF.
Should be me. Anyways, I don't have anything that's unread. Anyways, I'm take down my phone number. 480-428-9999. And everyone can take it down if you don't have my number. So
okay.
So the first thing is, if he won't go for creative financing, get it under contract for what he owes, $72,000.
Okay.
Because I believe I'll be able to help you sell it. There's no guarantees.
Sure.
But I believe I'll be able to help you sell it. So now let's talk about how to get this property done under creative financing. Okay.
Okay.
This homeowner specifically only cares about getting out from under his mortgage. Is that correct?
That is my understanding from our conversations. Yes.
And he doesn't live there, right? It's a rental for him.
No, he was considering using it as a rental, but then has heard some horror stories from friends who has them, doesn't want anything to do with it. Just wants out.
Yep, I got that. And then is it vacant?
I think he's in the process of moving right now because he sent me some pictures in it. There's a whole bunch of boxes in there and that type of thing. So
I would say this. I would say this is exactly what I would say to him. Mr. Seller, and I'm just going to act like you're the seller. Mr. Seller, I don't know if I can get to that number in a cash offer type of style. And my business, a lot of times I'll just offer cash and I can close quick and those things. That number really doesn't leave me any margin as an investor. I'm sure you can understand that, right? And what you're doing by saying, I'm sure you can understand that, you're getting minor tie downs. So like what I call minor commitments. You're helping him see what you see. And by him doing that, he's starting to like recognize and confirm for you, right? And so then you say, but if you are creative and you're open to having a creative conversation about how to get to your number, I might be able to do it if we can get a little bit more creative. Are you open to that? And then depending upon what he says there can kind of change the direction how the conversation goes. But most homeowners who are open to some level will usually respond to, well, what do you have in mind? And then it allows you to kind of create. And the key to any type of creative financing deal is for you to really, you yourself, right? You need to start creating because there's no real limit with creative financing. It quite literally is like anything you can imagine, you can write up on a piece of paperwork and create that, right? So the things I would ask, obviously, okay, you have a $72,000 loan payoff. That is your total loan balance. What do you pay monthly? Let me try to kind of find out what I think rents would be if I end up keeping this as a rental property. You know, are you looking, you're just looking to get out from under it. You're not moving anywhere. This doesn't change your life. You're not going to be doing anything different. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I could provide of value for you. And then essentially just say, hey, based around what I'm seeing in the area, what I could structure, and I always need to be able to pass this by my construction and money partner. Because ultimately through construction, even if we are going to put a little work into it, my money partner cuts the check. So I always need to make sure that those two gentlemen are in alignment with this. But given if they were, what I believe we can do based around the numbers I see here is we would start paying your mortgage for you. How does that sound? Now, I don't say subject to. I don't use it because most people have no idea what that means. So I just keep it very simple and I say, what if we just start paying your mortgage for you? He says, well, that'd be pretty cool. Okay, cool. And then what will ultimately happening is, I can either end up refining your mortgage out or just selling the property, depending upon if I do turn it. But ideally, this is going to be an investment property for me. And based around the numbers you've said, I'd be happy to start making the mortgage payments. Basically, and I'll get you all the documents, Mr. Seller, but essentially, you're just giving me authorization to start paying your mortgage and taking deed to the home. Then I can start doing, all the work that I needed done. Now, here's the problem a lot of times with a subject to. If he has no motivation, he might get very caught up on the fact that you are now taking over a deed to his home and keeping his name on the loan.
That's what I thought.
Okay? So if they're very motivated, they don't give a shit. Like, well, I'm going to let it go to foreclosure anyways, so I do not care, right? Like, okay, that's a different person than who you're dealing with. So another way to do this is the structure stays the same. It's called an agreement for sale. I have all the paperwork. It should be in Facebook, but if you need it, I'll make sure you get it. Essentially, all it is your normal purchase agreement, an addendum with the terms on it, and the deed is held in escrow. It never conveys until you pay off the original loan. So that seller actually has nothing at risk.
And also, that wouldn't trigger a due on sale clause
That's
as well, correct? Okay. Which, yeah, I that one makes a whole lot of sense to me in this situation.
Yeah. So, by the way, both of these options can be wholesalable. Like, I still can find a buyer for both. Let's just say you give him, let's say he's like, you know what, you're just really confusing me. I'm an old man. I don't want convolute. Like, just buy my house, right? Like, just buy it out. Then you say, okay, well, let me do this. Let's put it together. I'm not 100% certain my financial partner is going to approve this. I might have to go to the contractor. We might have to start to renegotiate with my contracting partner about what he wants to do. So let's put the paperwork in order. I'm going to have a 14-day inspection on here, and that allows me and my contractor, my financial partner, to make sure our numbers are correct. Because if I cannot do, paint and carpet, and they literally want to do X, Y, and Z, then we're not going to be able to move forward. So why don't we do that? Let me, it won't take me 14 days. Let me get the ball rolling. I'll come in, I'll buy your home at $72,000, right? Normal structure, normal stuff, right? You just have your inspection period. And then I'll help you wholesale it. Okay. If he is open to the creative part, then you still put it under contract for $72,000. There'll be, obviously, you're going to need him to give you the payment stubs for his mortgage and payoff from the bank. So you really are like confirmed that that's the payoff. And you write the terms on this addendum that should be in the Facebook group, right? And you say, okay, so I'm going to still ask for 14 days because I still need, either way, your point is the same. I got to go to my financial partner. I need to go to my contracting partner. Excuse me. I need to make sure they are eye to eye. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to move forward, right? They need to make sure the finances, for the mortgage payment add up, plus the cost of what I'd be doing to the home. I need to make sure all that pans out. So I'm going to still need 14 days. Give me 2 weeks. Let me make sure that they, can get that done. And by the way, we can still try to wholesale it. We don't have to have you to actually, my point being is we can still try to move it at that number.
Okay.
Right. And then if he green lights it and we can't wholesale it, well, now you can make the decision of like, should I just keep it and rehab it and go down this path that you're talking about? And maybe, or, if he goes with the creative financing option, maybe we don't hold you want to actually rehab it, and then okay. But I tell you, why not go take a quick nickel real quick if you can kind of just move it because it's in Toledo.
That would be my preference, to be honest with you. But I'm right now, my mindset is so flipper oriented that if something's not, 70% or below, then I don't see a lot with it because the subject twos and the, the CFDs, all that stuff is brand new to me, and I
Yeah.
understand it in concept, but in practice, like how it goes, how the numbers work, and like what the process looks like, obviously I'm still trying to work through that in my head. You know what I'm saying?
And so I'll help you if he gives any pushback. But what I just told you is exactly what I would say. And I don't know what question he'd maybe ask that would confuse you. Like, who pays the bank? You'd say that you either give authorization for you to, or you do it through a third party. Like Westar is a company that we use for third parties to pay the bank. And so, there's a third party, fully insured third party that I will pay, and they will pay the bank on our behalf to confirm that it's being paid, right? And the reason why we do that, Mr. Seller, is obviously I could give you the check, and as much as I'd love to trust you with that money, you might ultimately say, who cares? I'm going to keep pocketing this. I'll let this home go to foreclosure, and I'm going to pocket all his money. So what I'd prefer is to go through Westar. But besides that, like, he might ask a couple questions about the process. And you say it's the same process as selling a home. The only difference is I'm paying your mortgage, right? And your property taxes, right? Because so there's going to be a property tax bill that he's still going to get because he's on deed. So until I have an agreement to say, I will pay your property taxes, but my intention is to turn this over. So as I turn this over, as I flip, I'm going to pay it through closing the escrow anyways. So I'm happy to do so.
Okay. What about term negotiations? Since he doesn't have a super ton of motivation, like that is completely something I don't even have an idea about, to be honest.
So terms of negotiation, like, this is where, like, a lot of times for term, creative financing deals, if there's not a lot of motivation, a lot of times it won't work. Right. Okay. Because you might say, you know what, I'm just going to rent it. I don't want to deal with this. Like, I don't understand it, whatever. And so a lot of the creative financing part really comes down to, if they're motivated, they don't really care about understand. They don't care because they're going to lose the home. If they're not, then they're like, I really want to understand it. And then it takes some time for you to really reiterate essentially what I've just told you. Like, there's not a lot more to it. Right. And so you just have to keep, hey, I'm happy to drive up there for you, shake your hand. I mean, how far is it? 2 hours?
Yeah, about that. Mm-hmm.
So, spend a day, go meet with them, right? Like, if you want the deal that bad, I would tell you, and I don't know the numbers, but if it's a $72,000 home that basically just needs lipstick, I really do believe I'd be able to sell it. Like, I don't know if we would make 10 grand, but even if we made 5 to 10, somewhere in there,
it's absolutely worth it. Yep.
So, I would tell you I would start there. I'd get it contracted at 72 no matter what.
Okay.
Because the worst case is you leverage my team. I'll go try to sell it with my network, right? Because and most of you guys know, like, I just invested a boatload of money into a software that gave me access to 2.1 million active real estate investors, buyers across the nation. So because of that, then I can help you guys sell your properties that are a little like, I don't know if I have a buyer for it. Make sense? So that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I have my team work on it. And I pay my team, right? You don't have to pay them. Like, if we make some money, great. Then they get paid out of whatever side I get. But I think those numbers just make sense, right? Like, there's probably plenty of people who would want to buy that home because there's probably not a lot active on the market.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Definitely that.
So hopefully that helped. Cool, and let me know.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, brother. Let me know. I mean, I would go straight for it. I mean, because I know Toledo, right? Meaning I know there's a lot of investors there. So I know, we could probably make a handful of calls and try to sell it just in a traditional wholesale manner and not have to get all into the creative side. Because in my opinion, you can always go back to a seller and start going down the creative side if you can't make it work in the traditional side.
Sure.
So why confuse the seller out of the gates if you don't have to? Right? Because you can always say, hey, my construction partner and my money partner did not agree, and I can't get to this number. I'm so sorry. Now, here's what I can offer, Mr. Seller. I feel terrible about this, but I do have a solution. We could get creative here, and then I can represent it to him. And here's what the creative offer looks like. And then you go down this path of, paying his mortgage, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you're saying just start with traditional then, and just put that on the back burner as far as creative financing?
Yeah, why not? Because essentially, like the way I'm seeing it is you're essentially buying it at 72% of value or of ARV.
Yeah.
But ARV, like if you're putting $6,000 into it, you're buying it at 75% of value. I think with my network, there's a market that I would be able to help you move that just traditionally.
Okay. Cool.
Why not? Because again, depending upon how the conversation goes, just keep me posted. Because if someone's not motivated and then you layer in creative financing, sometimes you are just causing yourself more headache than needed. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yep.
If someone's motivated and they don't owe much or they don't have much equity and they're like, F this property and moving on, then maybe it's like, all right, let's get creative because you don't have much equity. There's not much here. Let's see what we can do. Follow me?
Yep. Tracking.
Cool. All right. Well, let me know.
Thanks, man. I'll let somebody else have a go.
Right on. Belky, Diego, are you there? You should be able to unmute. I know you guys had a bunch of questions. Belky or Diego? I see you. Hello.
Belky's here. How
Hey,
are you?
What's up?
Doing great. Hot in here. It's Florida and it's crazy hot today.
Oh, and I might be moving to Florida. God, that does not make me excited.
Well, it's just that today, all morning I was out and I just got home. So I'm cooling out now.
Oh, got it. Okay. So Diego sent me a couple messages. Are you aware of what he sent me? Because I wanted to answer in front of everybody.
Yeah, that was me. The one that the text this morning.
Was it on his phone?
And no, I think you have my phone as his phone.
That's awesome.
Because he's working full time now. So I'm trying to, do the wholesaling real estate. All right.
Okay. So let's go over some of these, right? Oh, it is. Hi, this is Belky. Interesting. Okay. Anyways. So you are actively cold calling right now in Florida. You're getting leads, but the sellers want top market dollars. Okay, right? Like they want high prices, not willing to negotiate or take a lower number. You were thinking about changing the market. You don't feel like there's a lot of motivation, and you feel like you're kind of just spending money and not getting the type of leads that you want. So let's start with that, because then we had a little further conversation, but let's start with that, right? Because I think some of this is I need to call out the proper expectation for everybody. First and foremost, whether it's Phoenix, whether it is parts of Florida, because you guys are in the Orlando area, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Whether it's Florida, whether it's Oklahoma that I'm also in, Tulsa that I'm also in, Milwaukee that I'm also like, and I don't know where everybody is, right? And we were just talking about Ohio and Toledo. Like, there's just not a lot of people willing to take a discount anymore. And that's not a Florida thing or an Orlando thing or a Phoenix thing. It quite literally is a function of two things. One, the entire real estate market nationally has been appreciating for 14 years, right? The crash was what, 2008, 2009? So it's now rebounded for the last 14 years, meaning a lot of people have a lot of equity. So markets like Florida and Phoenix, like last year, Belky, in 2020, during COVID, our market appreciated 25%. Appreciated. That means if you owned a $400,000 home, it's now worth $500,000. and that homeowner did nothing to deserve it. So that homeowner is likely not going to take a discount, because if you layer on point number 2, there's nothing for sale on the MLS. So now it comes down to supply and demand. If there's nothing for sale and someone is interested in selling, they can ask for a premium because it's supply and demand, right? There's no supply. So people will be willing to pay a premium. So, and then you layer on kind of a 3, which is like people have been getting free money from the government, so they don't have a whole lot of need to do anything, right? They're getting, government money to pay their bills, so they're not needing to financially sell right now, which is not really like a big 3, but like that's part 3 if you want to put on part 3. So just in general, that is happening everywhere, right? Like I see Joel's on here, and I see there's other people on here that most people that are active are going to agree, like the vast majority of people I talk to and that you guys are going to be talking to are not going to have high motivation. So now it comes down to, Belky, how I was kind of giving you a heads up on, like, it's about proper expectation. If you're talking to, I think you said 40 sellers that you got from cold calling, you're doing cold calling, correct?
That is correct.
If you're doing cold calling, you're going to need to talk to roughly 100 to 200 sellers to get one deal. So if you don't have that many sellers that you're currently talking and building a rapport and nurturing, then you don't even have a chance for a deal. Because statistically speaking, because this all comes down to KPIs, right? Key performance indicators, the numbers that move the levers. If you don't have that many homeowners, then you're not giving yourself a chance to get the deal. Now, can anything happen? Can you randomly find a homeowner that is going through a divorce right then? They need to sell? Absolutely. Anything can happen. But in the sense of the business and building out a business that will last and has, consistency, you need to have 100 to 200 sellers that you're actively talking to, nurturing them to get your first deal to go down. Okay. Now, once you build out a pipeline and you're consistently bringing in, let's just say 50 new sellers a week, now you're going to see your numbers change. So your first deal took you 200, your second deal will take you 150, your third deal will take you 100, the fourth deal will take you 75. Now all of a sudden, every 50 sellers or so that comes through your pipeline, you're closing a deal. So it's no longer 200, now it's every 50. But it's because you have a pipeline of sellers you are nurturing and working. And then on top of that, you also have to have the proper expectation of cold calling and the type of lead you're getting. So let me break it down in this way. Cold calling is a nurture game. Typically is not like a one call close. You call someone, they say, oh my God, thank God you called. I got to sell right now. But typically that is not the case. Okay. You're going to call someone. They're going to say, I guess I'm willing to sell. What are you going to offer me? Right. And then they're not that interested. They're just doing it because you called them. Right. And so you are being proactive, which I'm a big fan of, being proactive, because you're going after the person who's looking to sell. So I actually like that strategy, right? So with that strategy, then you can then go into it and realize, like, all right, I need to nurture these people because it is an event-based business. Right this second, they might not be able or willing to sell, but next month they might have that event that I'm telling you guys about. I don't care what it is, divorce, illness, they get fired, the event, that all of a sudden, because you're actively nurturing them, they all of a sudden are motivated to sell. But today they weren't, but next month they will be.
So for how long do I need to keep them on my CRM? Because I do have a few from last month. They say they wanted to sell, but like I mentioned, they want top price. And many of them, the reason was like, well, the properties in Florida, the market in Florida is very high. I want to get as much as possible. So I keep on calling them. Well, not keep on keep, but at least once a week or so, or send a text. But many of them has stopped. I mean, they're not answering me anymore. They already have my number identified. So I don't know if I should keep them there, keep on calling, or just
Yeah, I'd reach out to them once a month.
okay.
Once a month, but you keep them there forever because you've already talked to them. So you never stop following up with them, ever. Never stop. Now, maybe does it get a little bit longer? Like you don't do it every week. Now you're probably at every month to reach out. Hey, has anything changed? I'm just letting you know I'm still here. I'm still looking to buy a property in your neighborhood. Right? But you never stop following up. And when someone, Belky, when someone says, I live in Florida, the market's really hot, so I want to get top dollar. When they say that to you, my first response is, it doesn't seem like you really are that interested in selling. Write that down.
Yeah.
I want everyone to write that down because you are going to get that response a lot. I want to get top dollar. Oh, okay. Hey, not a problem, Mr. Seller. I'll be honest, I talk to a lot of homeowners every day. It doesn't seem like you're really that interested in selling. And then shut up right after that. Doesn't seem like you're that interested in selling, and you shut up. And see what they say. Okay? And here's why that's so important, right? Is because if they are interested in selling, they will try to disprove you. They'll try to fight you on it. Like, no, Belky, I am interested. I just, I don't want to like give my house away. Okay, listen, I'm not trying to steal your house either. We can come up with a fair agreement that both of us feel comfortable with, right? If they're interested, they will kind of push against you. So what I did is called labeling. It's from a great book. You guys all should read it, called Never Split the Difference. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a sales book. He's awesome. He's an FBI hostage negotiator. So he's like super negotiator. So by labeling someone, they will do one of two things. They will say, yeah, I'm not really interested in selling, Belky. Or they will fight you, not physically, but like they will fight the label you gave them. Because it's not who they are. They aren't someone who is not interested in selling. They are someone who's interested in selling. So you got to wait for their reply. And usually they'll just say, oh, yeah, well, you called me, so I just figured you'd give me an offer, and if it's high enough, I'd be interested, and if it's not high enough, then I don't really care. And when someone says, I won't really care, then you say, okay, well, I just don't want to waste my time, my team's time, or your time. I mean, I have a business I got to run here. And so, if you're not really that interested in selling, I'm probably not the right fit for you, and you're not the right fit for me, and that's okay.
All right. But do I tell them that before I explain why we have to, or let's say why am I planning to buy their house in a discounted price? Because I do try
Yes.
to educate them, telling them, well, because they say, well, my neighbor sold for 500 and I want to get the same money. So I always go to Propstream or Zillow and see the pictures and see, well, look, your neighbor, they changed the roof, they renovated the kitchens, the bathrooms, they changed this and that. Have you done that? Many of them will say, oh yes, my house is perfect. It's in perfect condition. I don't need to put any money on it.
Yeah, everyone's house is in perfect condition. We all have awesomely beautiful houses, all of us, right? I mean, that people have self-pride about their house, right? And so, one thing about Phoenix that is also true with Florida is that there's a lot of newer homes, right? Homes that have been built in the 2000s. And so there's other people on this call that there's a lot of homes that have built in like the 20s and 30s. So sometimes there's a hurdle because you're calling someone that the home was built in 2015. So maybe there is nothing wrong with the house. Maybe you wouldn't love the paint color because it was painted on 6 years ago and you change it, but maybe it's nothing's wrong. So before I get there, Belky, what I would tell you is ask more questions. You're trying to give value. Here's why you want to do this. Here's why I ask here. Here's me. What you need to do is find out about them. So you need to be a doctor. So a doctor doesn't go into the when you go to the doctor's office, they don't walk in the room and tell you all about them first, do they? No. They say, hey, my name is Dr. Justin Colby. You came in here today. Let me look at your file. Your elbow hurts. Okay. Well, let me ask you a couple questions. Does your elbow hurt when you do this and do this? And they ask you all these questions. Move your elbow up, move your elbow down, blah, 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 blah. And they start asking you a bunch of questions. And it's because they're trying to figure out what your, medicine is, right? Like, how can they help you? That's how you got to approach every call. And like I just told you, there's going to be a lot of people you talk to that don't need help. They're not motivated. They have no real interest to sell their home. So when they say things like, yeah, sure, give me an offer, it's only because you called them. So they're just saying that, but they don't really have any motivation to sell. So in the Facebook group that you guys are all a part of, we have what I call the sales formula, and it goes through the motivation questions. The motivation questions are like, why are you looking to sell now? Where are you going to move? Why haven't you listed it? Why is now the right time for you to sell? When you sell, where are you going? Those questions have nothing to do about, the house. It has to do with, I'm trying to find out, do they have any motivation at all to sell? Or is it just because I called them that they're saying, yeah, I'll sell my home?
Yeah, I do ask those questions when I'm doing cold calling, and I also have an in-house cold caller that helps me with that. And whenever we have a homeowner that says, yes, I do want to sell, we go through those questions. How long have you been thinking about selling? Why is now a good time to sell? What would you do if you don't sell to me? Stuff like that. Sometimes they're willing to answer. Sometimes they're like, I don't want to answer these questions. Are you going to give me an offer or not?
They're not motivated to sell. Mm-hmm. Them replying just like that should tell you, they don't have any motivation. So Belky, let me ask you this. Let's role play right now. How do you open the conversation? So I'm a seller. Talk to me like a seller. Start the conversation.
Okay. Good morning. I'm looking for Justin.
Yeah, this is him.
Hi, Justin. I know this call is out of the blue, but I wanted to check or to see if you are interested in selling, or have you given any thoughts about selling the house that you have on 123 Main Street, Orlando?
I'm not really.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't take any more time there.
Not a problem. Yeah. And so let's just say I said, well, what's your offer going to be?
Oh, first I will have to ask a few questions about the property and their condition, and then I will be able to gather all the information and give you a cash offer.
Okay. So not really bad. I mean, it sounds pretty okay. The point being is, if you're getting the responses that you're getting, it's because they have no motivation. Mm-hmm. Right. So the way, the only thing I'd say you could maybe change would be like, hi, is this Belky? Yes, this is Belky. Hi, Belky. My name's Justin. I'm looking to buy a home in the neighborhood. I was making sure that you do still own 123 Main Street, don't you? Just to make sure that they actually own the home that you're calling about, right?
Okay.
And then Belky says, yeah, I own 123 Main Street. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if you're interested, but I'm looking to buy a home as an investment property in the neighborhood. Do you have any interest, or have you given any thought to selling the property?
Okay, I like that. So they know you're trying to get an investment property, so they know it's not going to be top price, right?
There
I
you
mean,
go.
if they have an idea about the
Yeah,
investment.
you're saying it without having to say it.
Mhm. I like that. Because another thing that we have found out is many of the homeowners that we call in, they're investors themselves. So if I look on their names on my, CRM, I'll see their name 5 times, 10 times. So they have many houses in the same area or around Florida. So they're like, no. Sometimes they say, well, I'm not looking to sell, but if you have a property, I will buy. So I do use them or put them as my buyers in my buyers list.
Yeah, I mean that's also great too.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can absolutely do that. But I think if and then I know you told me something else, Belky,
About the lead, like
lead
let's say,
person that wants to sell her property for market price.
yeah, do I still list it as a lead? Let's say their house is, I don't know, one.
No. So this would be the exact same person. Like there's no motivation. Zillow says it's 265 and they want 260. Well, so I would still ask more questions. Do you just give up at that point? And then when are you looking at Zillow? Like when are you looking at the numbers values? When do you do that?
During the, we'll call it interview, if they say they're interested in selling, I go with the questions. How long have you been thinking about selling? And one of my questions, it could be, it's probably the fourth or the fifth. I ask, do you have a number in mind that you would like to sell for? And then they will say, well, 260. Then at
And
that
then
point, I will
do you
look.
already know the value of the home? Are you on Zillow already?
I have, yes, because I use Mojo Sales and it's just a click to
Yeah.
see value.
Yeah.
If if I have more time, I have already looked in Propstream, but that does, I mean, hardly ever happens. So it's usually Zillow.
Yeah. And so what I would say here is if someone can give you a number like that and you see it looks like they just got the number from Zillow, and you actually would act surprised, like, oh wait, wow, you knew the number out of the top of your head. Have you been talking to a lot of people that are looking to buy your home? Well, no. Or yeah, I get a lot of people calling me, and really I just, Zillow says it's worth 265, so I say 265. So when someone has a number that quickly, something's happening. They've either talked to a lot of other investors or they've looked at Zillow already and they're just giving you a Zillow number. So I would ask, hey, wow, that was quick. So have you been thinking about selling a long time? Like you already knew your number within minutes, within seconds. And they say, yeah, well, I'm thinking about selling. I'm talking to a lot of investors, but they always want to lowball me. Oh, okay. Is there a reason you have not listed it yet? That's your very next question. When
Yeah,
someone has a number that matches Zillow, is there a reason you have not listed it yet? And then the reason you ask that is because they might give you a reason. Well, I don't want people walking through my home. Well, I don't need to walk through your home, but as an investor, like I can't buy retail, right? That number is a Zillow number. Obviously, you've looked at Zillow before, right? So that's where you probably got the number, right? Yeah, that's where I got the number. Okay, well, that's okay. But then if I'm going to buy your home without walking it and things like that, I'd probably need a little bit of a discount. Are you open to giving me a little bit of a discount based around that number?
let's say they say yes, but they're only willing to give you,
250.
yeah, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
You say, okay, well, let me ask you again, like, why wouldn't you just list it and get top dollar? Well, I don't know if I really want to sell, right? Like, again, this keeps going back to the play. Like, you're just not talking to people who are motivated.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know that because I
You
have
know,
tried that too. Like, well, I don't know. I always think, I think I'm a green personality, like you in the training the other day. And I
Yeah.
want win-win for both parts. So I don't want to take advantage of anyone, but I don't want them to take advantage of me. So my husband, he's, I don't know, I guess he's blue or something. And he's like, well, why are you advising them not to sell? I'm like, well, if they don't really want to sell, and it's, I don't know, it's just that the other day I had a discussion with this lady. She only has one house and she bought it 10 years ago, but it was like she got it in a good price. Right now, she has a lot of equity on it, but she doesn't really have another house to move. So she was like, well, I want to sell it. I want to sell it top price so I can buy another one. But there's no way that she's going to be able to buy another one selling this one. So I was just talking to her and saying, you know what? If I were you, I wouldn't sell. I will rent and maybe get another loan for another one, but don't sell it. So my husband got upset. He was like, why are you saying that? I'm like, well, it's just that it's now business for us because she wants top price. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it just, I like it, the lady. So I
Yeah.
was,
And so, you know, listen, there's nothing wrong. Like if you can't buy it, there's nothing wrong with like giving her help. There isn't, right? And so I would say like, do you know your KPIs? Do you know how many calls you're making a day and how many homeowners you're talking to?
before, well, it's two of us making the call. So it's 4 hours that I do in the morning and 4 hours that does Vivian in the afternoon. So we're making around 700 calls with the Mojo, with the 3 dialer.
Love it.
And contacts, it could go, it varies, but we have a good ratio now. We're using a better, what is it?
Skip tracer.
Skip tracer. So we're having contacts, I would say, well, you know how Mojo calls 3 lines, but you don't really get to speak to the 700 people. You only get to speak like 200 maybe. So we're
Okay.
getting about that, like 209, I mean, 190 or something contacts, but many of them are not interested. And the very few that are, they do want top price, or they're investors themselves.
Yeah. And so I think you're just not. So again, if you're making 700 contracts, and tell me about your numbers, but your numbers should be roughly. So if you're making 700 calls, is that
Mhm.
about right?
Yes.
Your number of contacts should be 70 a day. 70 people. You said, hi, is this Justin? And they said, yes, this is Justin. So that's a contact. Doesn't mean it's a lead, it's just a contact, right?
Mhm.
So it's 10%. And out of that 70, 7% would turn into an actual seller lead. So 7% would land you roughly around 5 leads a day, give or take, every day. Now, just because a seller is a lead, how I define a seller lead is someone looking to sell in the next 12 months. End of story. That is a lead. So how I do that is, okay, so if I'm bringing 5 a day and they all want retail, I just need to speed it up a little bit. Can I make more calls or broaden my area? And then for the 5 I do get, I need to nurture them. So this kind of goes back to the start of the conversation.
All right. But like I said, I could get those 5 leads, but they want the top money, the retail price.
Right. So that's 5, right? So I told you your first deal would land somewhere in between 100 to 200 leads.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So how many days in a row does it take you to get up to 200 leads?
It's going to take me
A lot.
a lot, yeah.
Right. So 40. 40 straight days will get you 200 seller leads. Now, that's 40 straight days of 700 calls a day. Do you think you've gotten there yet?
We have done it for about a month and a half. Yeah, 40 days
Well,
already.
is that, yeah, but if you do a month, that's 30 days. I don't know. Like,
And
did you
2
actually do it for 30 days in the month? Or did you do like Monday through Friday?
Oh, Monday to Friday. Yeah, I haven't.
Okay. So that'd be 20 days,
Okay, yeah, you're right.
right? And then the other thing is you may or may not be qualifying a lead the right way, right? Like a seller is just someone looking to sell in the first 12 months. It doesn't mean they will take a discount. And I never talk about I'm an investor, so I'm going to give you a cash offer, so I have to buy at a discount. I never mention that. I say things like I'm an investor, so I'm buying another investment property. Sometimes I flip them, sometimes I keep them in my portfolio. It really just depends on what I buy them at.
Okay. Keep it in mind. Uh-huh.
You know, but I don't offer a lot of information up first. I try to gather the information. I'll gather information for 2 straight hours. As long as it takes to kind of feel out where they're at and to see if I can provide value. Because ultimately, you need to provide them value for them to move forward with you. But ultimately, you need to essentially nurture them. So, how many actual seller leads do you have in your database?
Currently, from the beginning, I have 47.
Yeah. So, again, you essentially need to have at least 4x that, right?
Yes.
You need to multiply that times 4. So it sounds like you're doing the right things essentially, but you just haven't done it long enough or enough.
Okay. Now, the other thing that is that the properties that I was aiming for is properties that we could do, rehab or flips. But I haven't really think about doing wholesaling. So if I'm planning on, well, let's say we find a property that is in good condition, nothing to do rehab on or anything like that, but it's the person wants the retail price. Do you think it would be a good idea just to get it on contract and see if it gets, sell or do the wholesaling?
Yeah, you could, right? So we will take newer homes like a 2015 year build, and we have a lot of realtors on my buyers list, right? And what do realtors have? They have buyers,
Buyers.
right? Now, I just told you Phoenix has nothing on the market, and so does most of Florida. Like, you can't find anything, right? Like, I'm trying to find a property to buy in Miami, and it's just like there's nothing. And so, if I send that property out and that realtor can't see it because it's not on the MLS, but they have a buyer looking to buy in that area, they might buy it. Now, the challenge will be and can be realtor have buyers that typically need to go to the bank to get a loan. And a wholesale deal, you don't really have the time to do that.
True.
So you would have to tell the realtor, hey, your buyer needs to be cash or hard money to buy this home.
Yeah.
They're buying it as is. There's no inspection. There's no appraisal. They're buying it as is. So you got to kind of educate the realtors when you do it that way. So I wouldn't pay retail. I wouldn't contract at retail. But, let's just use the example where the other example where you said $265,000 what Zillow gave, and the seller was willing to take $235,000. It's still not a flip, but could you find a realtor that has a buyer that would buy it at $240,000? Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. We'll try that now.
Yeah. That help?
It does. It does.
Good.
Now, I had another question about how to train the cold caller that I have, because
Yep.
I don't want to give her too much information. I mean, I have been on your trainings and I read a lot and stuff, but for her, I only want her to focus on calling and finding out whether the owner is willing to sell in the next 12 months or whatever. But how do you train your in-house callers?
They sit right next to me and they hear everything.
Okay.
And then when I get off the phone with sellers, the way I train is they have a notepad and I say, hey, why did I say that at this point of the conversation? When they replied with their answer, why did I reply with my answer? So I'm teaching them through actual calls.
Okay, all right. So they're pretty much doing more than only, because the VAs, I know they work differently, right? The VAs only try to get a lead. Doesn't really matter if it's a good lead or if it's business for you, right? As long as the person says, yes, I'm willing to sell, they will give you as a lead.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying, Viviana, to learn that, well, I'm teaching her to qualify the seller, whether it's a highly motivated seller or they just want a number.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. The way you're teaching her is like by her hearing you and hearing the seller, by the way. So when you're on the phone with the seller and put them on speakerphone and the seller says, yeah, I'm open to offer, give me an offer. And then you say, well, before I give you an offer, let me ask you a couple more questions. When are you looking to sell? Why are you looking to sell? Why haven't you listed it yet? Et cetera, right? And then you would just say, and then the seller says, well, I don't know. You asked me if I was looking to give you an offer. So I'm telling you, yeah, give me an offer. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that then you get to, simply say, well, do you know why I answered the way I answered? Because he just really wanted an offer. There was no motivation there.
Okay.
So you're teaching her through the actual actions on the phone. So you can ask like, hey, what was the first question the seller asked me? What was the first question I asked the seller? When he said X, why did I answer with Y? So you're teaching her through this.
Okay. Good tip. Thank you, Justin.
Oh, you're so welcome, Belky.
I think that's it. That covers my questions. Thank you very much.
Cool. Well, we're going to wrap up. Does anyone have any other questions? Was that helpful for anyone? Quanta Lee? Was that helpful?
Yes, it was very helpful. I'm just listening and taking notes.
I love it. Good.
Yeah, it was helpful. I think I need to start calling more people or call somebody because I haven't done any calls yet just to get over that hump.
Yeah. And that's part of it, right? And so is like just start doing the actions. So I did a YouTube video that you guys will probably see shortly, but I did this morning, and I'm going to reiterate what I said was there's 4 skill sets to hyper success. And they're not sales, writing, coding. That's not what I'm talking about. The first one is consistency. Consistently doing the actions that are revenue generating activities consistently. The second one is fortitude. You do it when you want to do it or not. You do it no matter what. The third is be willing to fail. Be okay with just making progress and learning from your failures. And the fourth is being around people who have done it before you, which would be me. So, what you just said right there, I think that was Rachel, right?
Yep, that's Rachel.
Yep. That's exactly right. Just do it without the expectation of trying to get a deal under contract. Just do it to learn, for progress.
Okay, I'm gonna do I'm gonna do it this week.
Yeah. All right. What else? Mark, you got anything, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't able to jump on for like the first 20 minutes. I think I was having issues with on my end, not yours. You know, just if you have time, just a few of the questions that I had shot you yesterday on Voxer. Let me see here. If you got the time, let's see. As far
I
as
usually have
party
back-to-back calls, so I probably don't have a lot, but I'll knock something out.
Yeah. The third-party cold call companies that
Yep.
you would refer us to.
I will send you a link, or do you have the here, I can do it right here. Do you want me to put it in the chat?
Sure, that'd be fine.
They have they only take application. So that's all I can give you is their application. And I'll put it in the chat. And so they are one of the companies that I use. I use two,
Okay.
the other company. So it's in the chat in Zoom. So did you see that?
Okay.
Yep. And then what else? What other data are you pulling those 15,000 from?
Is that just nationwide?
No,
or is it like targeted zip codes this year?
Yeah, so I in Propstream, so that's more about what list do I pull, and like for me, it's usually within the cities, right? And so maybe, you know, we can have another training about Propstream in the list, but like in Phoenix, I pull a list of roughly 800,000.
Ooh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Cool.
But it's within the Maricopa County, specific Phoenix.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What else was that? Kind of the two big ones.
Yeah, those. And then I went and I downloaded the script from one of the guides. So I got that answered. And it's pretty similar to the one I'm already using. But yeah, that was the major ones for now.
Okay. Yeah. And just hit me up again, like throughout this week. If there's something else, I'll send it to you.
Thanks, man.
Of course, brother. All right, y'all. I got to run. Appreciate you. Let me know. Hit me up on Voxer if you guys have any questions the rest of the week. We'll talk next week.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, guys, that is this incredible training. I've already gotten massive feedback from the students who are on that coaching call. I hope you enjoyed this as well. If you have any questions or any other needs at all, make sure to comment below. And if you have not yet, make sure you hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and turn on your notifications for all the videos I bring out each and every week. I'll see you on the next video.